China threatens Australia's iron ore. Let's have a look. Good evening, everyone. Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I've got my evening stein of coffee, and I'm just drafting away when a viewer told me about what's happened to iron ore today, particularly between Australia and China. So it's definitely something I thought I'd quickly do a video about to get out. Now, for those of you that aren't aware, iron ore is, well, a big export product here from Australia. You can see here, 20% of our export, and this is probably a bit out of date, it's now over 60 billion. But Australia is, we'll have a look, this is the Observatory of Economic Complexity. Australia is the biggest iron ore producer in the world. It's playing silly buggers with me. We've got iron ore, we're number one in the world, followed by Brazil and a few other countries. You can see here. Now, the biggest importer of iron ore is China. They're the biggest importer. So if China starts, well, restricting imports of Australian iron ore, that could have a significant impact. We can see here, or even just slowing it down, even just delaying it, we can see here in the iron ore price, it's just shot right up to $97 today. To $97. It's up 5.43% since the beginning of 2020. Which, considering how much it's plunged, is a big move. Remember, it was around 80 bucks, guys? $80? We can have a look here. This is live maritime data from Australia. We can see all the green cargo ships flowing out of Australia, all heading up to China with all of our natural resources, all of our iron ore. And another thing I will bring up to show everyone, this is what I'm bringing up is Google Earth, and this is mining data from 2014. Now it shows you all of the active mines from 2014. It's the latest data I could get quite easily just to show you graphically where these mines are. So we'll click here, we'll turn on. This is all the iron ore mines. Do you see them appearing there? Hang on, I'll turn off these construction issues. Western Australia, guys. Western Australia is, well, the home of the majority of Australia's iron ore mines, and you can see it's just going straight up to China. Straight up here to China. We can see it here on this live, semi-live zoom in. Let's see what's coming out of Port Hedland. What's this guy? Cargo vessel. What's him? Another cargo vessel. Oh, wait, it's out of range. What's the Goliath? That sounds good. Goliath from Port Hedland. T. Chang, a bulk carrier. So a bulk carrier. There you go. So let's jump back to this article so we can appreciate what the impacts this may have. Could have on our economy, guys. So, China changes iron ore import rules in escalation of the trade war over the pandemic inquiry call. Now, do you think our leaders would have taken the potential for this into account when they were calling for this pandemic inquiry? For a civilization that frankly has suffered to a much less extent than other nations around the world from this pandemic, why are we taking the lead? Let me know in the comments. Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? Do you think they don't realize the potential implications, or just the fact that China will use their leverage against Australia? Or are they just, doing what they're told by our allies? China has ramped up its attack on Australia, sending another implicit warning to Australia that could hurt a $63 billion a year market. Trade tensions between Australia and China have escalated again after Beijing imposed new customs inspection procedures on iron ore imports. The move comes on the back of China imposing an 80% tariff on barley and suspending some beef shipments from abattoirs, seen as retaliation for Canberra's call for an inquiry into the pandemic. The Communist Party-controlled newspaper Global Times has described the latest import changes as another implicit warning to Australia. The paper, considered a mouthpiece for Beijing, quoted academic Yu Li, a chief research fellow at the Research Center for Pacific Island Countries from Lao Chen University, is saying it is associated with how Australia has acted and a general decline in demand for steel on a global level. So here's the thing. I mean, I'm not surprised that demand for steel is going down. Not at all. But they're obviously using this for political purposes and for political posturing. If only the newspaper is. The newspaper's report on the change went on to say that Australia's iron ore exports to China could fall victims to the rising bilateral tensions. The announcement comes at a delicate time when the China-Australia relations have ebbed because of Canberra's insistent efforts to spearhead an independent probe of the pandemic outbreak in China in order to stigmatize the country, it said. China said that the virus, like MERS and SARS, was jumped to humans from a host animal and was not made in a lab. In another editorial, the Global Times declared China has the power to hurt the Australian economy. Well, yes, that's completely true. 100% true. They certainly have the power to hurt our economy. It's just the risk we face by being so entwined with the Chinese economy. We look here at how many of our exports, or, from Quarry Nation Australia, all our imports as well, exports are heading to China, imports are coming from China. We can see it here in the ships. How many of these ships are not even manned by Australian crews? We should have a huge merchant marine fleet, shouldn't we? Because we're exporting so much, you'd think. No, that's not how it works, guys. It's not how it works. Customs authority in China today issued a directive about new inspection rules on iron ore, essentially meaning that officials can demand extra checks on imports while waving through others. The General Administration of Customs said the new procedures would streamline imports and build a better business environment. But some analysts in China believe it could see Australian batches of iron ore delayed for inspection while other imports from competing nations sail through, the Financial Review reports. So if you were in business in China and importing iron ore, would you be sourcing it from Australia where it could be delayed? And then it's not a tariff, guys. It's not a tariff. It's just import delays. Or would you get it from Brazil, where it'll just go straight through? And then it'll just be, demand for Australian iron ore isn't there. What do you think, guys? What do you think? One analyst, Du Hongfen, told the newspaper that changes could be manipulated to punish Australian importers. Australia asked for a groundless investigation by following a certain country, therefore the market will link this to other things, he said. Prime Minister Scott Morrison has led the charge on convening an independent global inquiry into the origins of the pandemic. That move has been supported by the United States, while President Donald Trump has been increasingly critical of China. Why isn't the US leading the charge? Why is Australia? Can someone explain to me why? Iron ore exports to China brought in $63 billion last year. The majority of China's iron ore imports come from Australia. So this is why the price has just spiked. This is why if essentially the biggest exporter in the world of iron ore is, going to be limited in the Chinese market, there's going to be demand for iron ore from other suppliers. So the price has responded. Is that what the market is thinking? Last month, China's ambassador to Australia, Jay Cheng, warned that the country could stop buying Australian-made products. The Global Times has also repeatedly attacked Australia and its government for its call for an inquiry. The Australian government has attempted to water down talks of a trade war, describing the barley tariff issue as something that's been brewing for 18 months and the mean import ban as an administrative issue. It's not really a trade war, guys. It's not a bilateral relationship. If we have a look at China, we'll go over here. Let's China's 35, even from this data, 35% of our exports, 24% of our imports. Okay? That's China. And now, what we'll do is, that page is acting up. We'll go to the Observatory of Economic Complexity. Let's have a look at China, guys, and compare our standing to China. How important are we to China? Now, who's their top, where is it? Exports. Okay. Imports. There we go. Where's iron ore? Oh, there we go. There it is. And we'll have a look at, well, does it tell me? No. Destinations. Okay, the destinations for their imports, for their exports. Sorry, we're 1.9%. And they're 35% of our exports. So, Mexico is bigger, has a bigger source of Chinese exports than Australia. So Mexico beats us. The Netherlands, probably the same as us. Russia's the same. France beats us. United Kingdom. Germany, of course. Vietnam. India. South Korea. And what about the origins? There we go. We're not too bad. We're 5.5%. But look at that Brazil there. That could easily jump up if we could easily swap with them. We're below Germany, below US, below Japan, South Korea, the rest of Asia. So it really can't be a trade war, guys, because what threat are we to them? It's different to America. Trade Minister Simon Birmingham signalled that Australia could appeal the measures at the WTO. He has also revealed that attempts to speak with his Chinese counterpart have been unsuccessful, with Beijing ignoring requests for a meeting to discuss trade. On Wednesday, the news agency Bloomberg reported that China had prepared a hit list of Australian products. It said that wine, seafood, oats, fruit, and dairy exports could face stricter quality checks, delayed custom clearances, anti-dumping probes, or consumer boycotts. So here's the thing, guys. Even if they're not implementing tariffs, if they just make it a bureaucratic nightmare to get our products in there, then they'll shift to others. Well, what do you think? Is anyone surprised this is happening? And where do you think it could lead for Australia in the future? If our iron ore, if we can't, some of our states are dependent on iron ore revenue. Our federal budget is tied into iron ore royalties. Well, we'll have to wait and see, guys. It's definitely going to be interesting. Thank you all for watching. Please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you'd like to support us, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us via our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, buy a merch from HeiseSays, or support us via PayPal. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.